Hello, my name is Jenna, and this is my TED Talk on my Genius Hour project. The topic of my project was skipping to increase my overall endurance and to better my cardiovascular health. This was a topic of interest of mine because over the past 2 years, I have sought to better my personal health and my well-being by not only improving my cardio, but also my weightlifting activities. These motivating factors came at me at a time when I first started taking on the sport of boxing and integrating boxing classes into my weekly fitness routine. I learned that skipping is the first form of exercise that boxers typically carry out at the beginning of their workouts. And from there, I saw that they're often really, really good at it, and I wasn't so good at it at the time. I'm always attempting new fitness goals, and as such, I found that this Genius Hour project came in at an extremely fitting time for my personal and professional learning goals. Some questions that I was interested in having answered by the end of this Genius Hour project were: what forms of skipping are best for increasing endurance? What methods or patterns of skipping is best for building stamina? How long will it take to increase intervals while skipping? And what are the overall benefits of implementing skipping into a gym routine? In week 1 of my Genius Hour journey, I sought to learn the different styles and forms of skipping that are typically implemented for skippers. What I learned is that any method of skipping will do the trick, but there are 4 most common forms that can be interchanged throughout a skipping routine. These include the regular bounce, the boxer skip, side swipe, and mummy kicks. So the regular bounce is exactly what it sounds: 2 feet together with the rope going around. You skip up and down and jumping over that rope. The boxer skip, that was something that became one of my favorite forms of skipping. And essentially, boxing skipping is just you skip with one foot, but the other foot is touching down as you're jumping over the rope. And it's just, I found that it was something that took a little less thought, and that made it a little bit easier as I was doing it quickly. And then the side swipe entails putting both feet together similar to that bounce skip, but instead of jumping up and down, you're actually jumping up and down and side to side. So in a side to side motion, swinging to the left and right as the rope comes around. And then there's the mummy kicks, and this is one that didn't really catch on for me that much, but one that I did do some research into and attempted many times over my Genius Hour project. And basically, mummy kicks, you're jumping over the rope while kicking out the other foot at the same time. I found it was just a little bit challenging and more of a tricky form of skipping to do over a long period of time. So by the end of this first week of my Genius Hour project, my research as well as beginning to learn and teach myself how to skip myself, I decided to coin the hashtag skipping to success as a slogan for my Genius Hour project. So you'll be able to see that all through my blog, because I felt so motivated to be able to succeed in this goal and try to learn and be good at skipping and my warm-ups in the boxing club. During week 2, I began increasing the intensity and duration of my skipping intervals. So research has found that one of the best ways to increase stamina and endurance is through interval training with a high short intensity interval before rest. So what I did, I downloaded the interval timer from the Apple App Store and set a 3-minute interval timer with a 1-minute rest. And I did that over a set of 4. And then at the end of each 3-minute intervals, I did 30 seconds as speed, and this was something that I learned from my boxing instructor at the St. Catharines Boxing Club. She said that if you increase your speed to the max capacity for that last little bit of your interval, then your endurance and your cardiovascular health will improve quicker. So I learned that these intervals were really effective, and I was able to watch my interval timer. I was able to plan out which skipping style I wanted to use, and I found that these intervals actually went by really, really quickly. So by the 4th set, I mean, as much as I was tired mentally and physically, I could always push myself through just because I knew that that was the end of my 4 sets. And then into maybe week 3 of my Genius Hour, I got shin splints. And this added a huge element of challenge to my Genius Hour project and to my skipping and building my endurance through this skipping challenge. So while trying to increase my interval sets to 4 minutes for 4 sets, I began experiencing pain and throbbing during my skipping, as well as even more intensely when I was resting after skipping intervals. So I tried to push through these shin splints for a really long time, for definitely a couple days at the gym. And then I decided that I needed to listen to my body and give my body the rest that it was really asking for. So what I learned in this experience was that you have to listen to your body. And I learned that rest can sometimes be more effective in meeting fitness goals, especially if you're trying to prevent an injury. And I knew that essentially if I continued to push myself, I was going to end up injured. So week 3 was maybe not my best week for this Genius Hour journey, but I was challenged a little bit extra, and I learned a lot more about my overall health and well-being by doing this. So while taking that rest because of those shin splints, I decided to find some answers to those pressing questions that led me to choose building endurance through skipping as my Genius Hour project. I set out to the internet and I found so many blog posts and articles about the overall benefits of skipping. Most notably for me, I found that skipping is a great form of cardio, and it's much more exciting than going for a jog, running on the treadmill, or doing elliptical training. I learned that skipping improves your overall health, including the appearance of your skin health, and it helps reduce fat and encourages weight loss. And then finally, another overall benefit, skipping can be an exercise that can be taken anywhere you go. So I skipped at the gym, I skipped at the boxing club, I skipped in my kitchen, I skipped in my basement. If it was nicer out, I probably would have skipped outside, and that's something that I'm sure that I will do in the future. So when I got back into skipping by week 5, I was ready to push through my goals, and this is when I really started to see some noticeable progress. This week I pushed myself to get to a 7-minute interval timer, and again with a 1-minute break in between. And I was very successful in this interval, so I decided to push it just that little bit further to an 8-minute interval, which I did succeed in achieving by the end of that week. So this was a big challenge. That extra minute, it made a huge, huge difference, and I experienced a lot of fatigue and exhaustion. So it was really hard, but by the end of the week, I'm really proud to say that I completed at least one set of 8 minutes in my interval timer, and that was something that was a huge accomplishment for me because I had taken a couple training sessions off and was taking a break from achieving that goal. So by the end of my Genius Hour journey, I feel that I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about skipping. I've learned a lot about myself as an athlete. I've learned what goal setting is and how you can do it, and I've learned how to be a active learner. So this Genius Hour project challenged me to set goals, to keep track of my progress, and to research the most effective means to achieving goals and learning about the task at hand. So while I didn't make it necessarily to the end of my goal, which was to skip for 10 minutes without rest, I do believe that I will get there, and I'm going to continue to persevere and try to get to that 10-minute interval timer. So I plan on integrating skipping into my weekly gym routine. I also plan on attending these boxing classes at least once a week, where I can observe others carrying out skipping strategies and learn from them so that I can become a better skipper as well. I find that skipping is much more interesting than running, and it's the best way for me to get my heart rate up before I do anything else at the gym. So whether I'm doing a weightlifting routine or practicing my techniques on the boxing bags, I think that I'm always going to be trying to put in at least some sort of interval timer for skipping so that I can get my heart rate up either at the beginning or throughout my workouts. So in the coming weeks, I'm going to continue to increase my interval timer until I can meet that 10-minute mark. Until then, I can reflect on my progress over the past few weeks and feel really proud about this Genius Hour journey that I set myself out for. I also feel that this Genius Hour project is extremely valuable for all learners and makes it so you are motivated and determined to learn in the best way possible on a topic that is most suited for you and your interests. Thanks.